I'll give you two of 2 million. I think the biggest mistake I made early on in Hubspot is out of the gates we were getting customers, and we had a nice hockey stick curve going. And I'm a sales and marketing guy, and I like hockey sticks. And so I kept sort of fueling the hockey stick, and when I looked at my budget every year and I built the P&L, and I really invested a lot in sales and marketing to keep that slope of that curve up and to the right, and I under-invested in R&D. We have this crazy ambitious vision of what we want to build, and in the early years, I underfunded the vision.
That was not a mistake.
What's that?
That was not a mistake.
That's interesting you say that. Because we had a high churn rate. It was what that started eating into the slope of the curve is the problem that happened. But anyway, I felt like I did that, and our churn rate got a little high, and then we started hiring developers. We ended up having to acquire our way out of the problem. So that was the $20 million acquisition we made for a great team, and that really was the best decision we made. I'll give you one other bad, not decision, but thing I've done is I'm a little crazy like a lot of founders, but I rarely lose my temper. And twice in the 6 years of HubSpot, I've just kind of got really pissed off and snapped and really yelled at, there was a woman I yelled at, and there was a guy I yelled at about a project that had been going sideways and then sideways and sideways, and I really yelled. And about half a second after I stopped yelling, I thought to myself, well, that was a huge, huge, huge mistake, that there's no reason for that type of behavior. And I yelled at them in front of other people. So the next month was the apology tour of apologizing not just to the person who I yelled at, but everyone else in the room. And so I learned a lesson to keep my cool. I think what's bad is if you lose your temper all the time, maybe it's okay, but I don't lose my temper much. So when I lose it, it's very surprising. But that was a mistake.
If I can answer too, I've got I see a little bit of maybe a cultural gap. I'm not sure if there's a cultural gap, but I've learned a lot from my co-founder. He's American, and what I've learned is, I think I can intellectualize it that way by saying, when you keep motion, when you keep making decisions, there's this concept of bounded rationality, which says that whatever you do, whatever you think, you're limited by three things. The first one is the amount of time you have to make the decision. The second one is the amount of information you have at the time you make the decision. And the last time is the limitation of your brain. And we can increase our brain. We can do startup at the speed of light, so you can distort time. So the last thing you have is information. But even with that, you're more likely to be irrational at one point. So the way I intellectualize it, and thanks to him, because he was keep making these moves, it was terrible. It was very annoying. I was like building this beautiful, like, I don't know, it wasn't a big plan, but it would be like, hey, in the next month we're going to do that. And like, I was like, no, we're just like, keep moving. Like, oh, I've got this phone call with this guy. Like, so now we're going to do this thing. And I've learned from it. What I've learned is all of you here are very smart people. And if you don't move and if you think too much before moving, like by the time you're going to be moving, it's going to be too late because the information you had, the time you had, like is changing. So that's something I've learned in the US is actually, it's just another way to see things. And indeed, you'll make tons of bad decisions. But somehow, that's the thing is, you might make one or two of them who are going to be good. But there's no way you're going to make a good decision if you don't make any of them. And so I can embrace that. And I don't know how big companies are dealing with that in France, but I do agree that you don't want to celebrate failure. But if you don't see failure, that means that nothing happened. That would be the way I see it. So, another questions, guys? Yeah, in the back.
Yes. So you guys have been talking about the past, and I wanted to know what's your vision of the future, because we have like a 3D printing company, like very promising companies. So Parker, how do you see your company in the world in like 10 years, and how did you see it in 1999 when you created your company? Like, how could you foresee the future back then?
So when we started the company, we had this crazy idea that we would start a company and one day be able to replace Siebel. And that was kind of an initial vision, and it was no software. And I think we've gone past that. And really our vision is we're a customer company. We're trying to help our customers change the way they work and change the way they work with each other, employees, change the way the employees are working with their customers when they're selling, servicing, marketing. We have a platform, but it's really around the customer. And so we see ourselves continuing to drive that vision forward and really change, very simply change the way people work for something good. And I think there's a lot of things that we can do, a lot of things that our competitors are doing, our partners are doing. And I'm just really proud to be part of this massive movement of cloud computing that I think is just beginning. So.
What's the future? Maybe I'm going to start with like how the world will look like in 3D printing everywhere. What is there?
So the future of Sculpteo is to be the right tool for anyone to use 3D printing in his business. So anyone who will to create a company or any big company, and actually we see both today. So any big company can use 3D printing very easily with our tools, and it will rely on cloud-based technology, which is running today. So it relies on cloud-based technology and cloud-based factories. So that's a future for us. And of course, it goes with mass customization and the fact that you all want to have different products, personalized products. You want to make your own things, and that's what we will provide to you.
Rachel.
My ambition is to change the data world and how people interact with their data. And today that's great because we can already start being backed by big bro like Salesforce, like Google, like Amazon. We are already able to reach the whole world and we also get the infrastructure to fulfill this dream, this ambition. And it's just the beginning, so that's just the beginning. Yeah.
Brian, is it just the beginning?
Yeah, I feel like we're in the first inning of well, baseball game. That's probably not a good analogy, but anyway, 9 innings in a baseball game. I feel like it's first inning of the game. Sort of like Parker, I feel like there's been this tear in the fabric of the universe around the way people work and live and shop and learn. And that companies need to turn themselves inside out over the next 4, 5, 6 years to transform almost everything to match the way the modern human actually lives. And there's an interesting stat. There's a Fortune magazine publishes the list of the largest American companies, 1,000 largest American companies, and in 2003, of the 1,000 largest companies, I'll give every dollar in my wallet to someone who can tell me how many of those 1,000 are still on the list.
9.
I'll give every French franc I've got, all 20 of them. There's 300. And so that's a lot of change from 1,000 to 300. I'll give you the corollary stat. 1983 to 93, out of the 1,083, how many do you think were left in 93? All the francs I got.
Euros.
Sorry, euros. There's 700. And so the 300 fell out versus 700 fell over the last year. It's not just a platitude. There is radical change happening. And I think if you're a big company, it's a slippery rock at the top. It's a hard time to be a defender. If you're a new company, it's a great time to be an attacker. I'm very bullish.
I mean, I agree with that. There's another statistic. Sorry, guys, it's statistics time. But I think in 1920s, the survival rate, the lifespan of a company in the S&P 500 was 65 years. And I think since 2000, it's only 15 years. The other thing I see is, maybe you guys are familiar with the singularity point and all these things, but just to give you, like, the world will change, whatever is going to happen. Like, you see doctors being replaced by, I know IBM has like this amazing Watson computer, and these things will be also in the cloud somehow. Like the power of calculation, like to deal with big data, to be able to bring this data to the real world, like just the whole society is being disrupted, and that's our vision for Startup Weekend when we grew it. We're just like, we don't need somehow to do a better job at the 21st century to make entrepreneurs like these guys here, and because we'll need more of them, because everything is changing, everything is shifting, and if you don't have people who can make this innovation and who can make the society shift, then it's going to be really hard to deal with that, because the innovation is coming anyway. So I think I have no idea of like clearly what the future will be, but what I know is it's not going to be like what it looks like today in just 15 years. Like everything is moving really, really fast. I mean, you've got the Google Glass, you've got translation, you've got all this power that's going to be in the cloud. Like, I don't know what Salesforce is going to be doing with that, what you guys are going to be doing with that, but like, yeah, an amazing future coming up soon.
And we just to add something, we are also all becoming smarter, because, you know, even when we started, when we were 2 in this company, we were already using Salesforce as a CRM, online ERP, because we are now able to use very cheap on-demand web services. So we were using marketing automation. We were already using, you know, RBI, of course. What I mean is that even when you start, you can be structured as a large account. So all your processes can be automated, and you can grow with all those processes. You know, you can grow fast. You can use web services to recruit. You can use. What I mean is that you are just focused on the business value you bring to your customers, and that's great, because we all became smarter, I think.
That's a good point. I just realized that actually all of you here is helping everybody to do a better job today. Like, I'm sure Salesforce would have dreamed to have Salesforce at the time you started, and the same for you guys. Like, you can do like marketing easily and 3D printing for prototyping. Like before, if you wanted to, I don't know, do the cup you've got right here. I mean, the only way you do that was to go to China to meet some guy there to do 1 million of them, or maybe not 1 million, but I mean, now you can just do that at home, and that's a very good point. Like, things are changing fast, actually. Anyone? Do you have a last question?
Yeah.
Or two last questions? Well, we still have 8 minutes.
Sorry.
5 minutes.
I have just 2 last questions to ask. First one is, do you guys have some tapes or some innovative ways to share about how to get feedbacks from your customers to build community? And I mean, some very small tapes. And the second one is that also for Franck, is that a must-be process for French startups, I mean French-born startups, to go abroad and to think international plan from the early stage of their beginning? Thank you.
So yeah, I can answer on the French question. So if I understand correctly, you're talking about the difficulty to grow a French company. So that's true, and I would say that you just have to think of it right from the start. And I would say that don't build a French startup, you just build a global startup. You don't need a French website. We were talking about mistakes previously. This is also a mistake I made. We built a bilingual website. The next website I will build will be only English. So just forget about it and go global. It doesn't mean that you don't like France or your country. It just means that you're in a global market. So let's go for it.
I'll just answer like real quick. I think the first step is to travel. There is grassroots community. I mean, everybody keeps talking about San Francisco, and it's an amazing place, but it's also a very hard place to start a business. But it's a great place to meet a lot of people. But you can go to Boston, you can go to Seattle, you can go in China, you can go in Africa, you can go anywhere around the world, and there is community of people that are locally, trying to help to develop community. So what I would start is just start to ask the question of where do you want to go? Like, why do you do that? And you should do that because of your startup, because it should be part of your vision. And if you don't have any vision, like just travel randomly to like the 3-4 countries you're interested in, just go on vacation there, hang out with entrepreneurs, see how it looks like. That would be my first step. Guys, we're going to stop here. I would like, if you guys can give a gigantic, huge round of applause to our speakers today. Thank you so much. I'm gonna pass it to Valentine, or should I say Valentine, who's gonna tell you about G9 Plus. And I shouldn't say that, but after that, if you guys want, like we have a drink at a place named I forgot the name. Luc. Paloma Cafe, which is just a cafe across the street. So if you guys want to join after, get a beer or something like that, we're going to be here. We're obviously not going to all fit here, but for a few survivors, if you want to join us.
Hello. Thank you very much for your feedbacks and your projects. All this is just outstanding and really appealing. Special thanks to Franck, Luc, and also Robin and Olivier, who organized this evening and this conference. Today we celebrate especially a new partnership with Salesforce, because Salesforce joins the happy few who get along with the GNF Plus on the long term. We have also PAC and Sopra. They have been joining us several years ago. And today's evening and conference sounds it shall be really amazing and a great pleasure to collaborate and work together. Now then, what's coming next with the G9 Plus? We have the next event on the 3rd of June with Microsoft as well, and it will be on startup women, especially Marion Carrette, founder of Zilko.com and Webcar.fr, and Laetitia Gazelle-Antoine, also founder and CEO of Connect Things. We will have great guests such as Delphine Ernotte from Orange and Françoise Gris, as well as Anne-Marie Hydrac. The next and the last one of the quarter will be the 24th of June, and it will be all about the telecom industry for the third and last event of the run of the cycle perspective. The purpose of this meeting is to get a landscape of the digital industries and to update the forecasts regularly about the mainstreams and the views we can have in France, in Europe, and around the world. And the white paper will be produced and published by the end of the year to get the highlights and the headlines about the industries. We will have speakers such as François Artignan, Head of Media and Telecom Finance in BNP, Thierry Bonhomme from Orange, Gabriel Gauthier, Public Relations Director in Alcatel, and as well John Stratton, the President of Verizon Enterprise Sales, will be there also by video or physically, and Richard Viel with Bouygues Telecom. So I hope these events, you had a good evening today, and we can come to the next events with the G9 Plus. Thank you very much.